Before you can begin work on your research paper, you first need to know what a research paper looks like and what a research paper is designed to accomplish. This can be learned by taking time to read the Sunapee Middle School sample research paper. This paper, which was completed by a Sunapee 7th grade student, illustrates certain characteristics of a research paper. Let's take a look. The paper is not perfect, but it does some things very well. The best parts of the paper are highlighted, and the highlights are explained in the margins. Before reading the paper, you should first notice that the paper has a certain format. For example, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that the student's last name belongs there. You'll also notice that the title is centered, in that the student, the teacher, class, and date appear on the left. This formatting matches the Modern Language Association's style guide for research papers. This is commonly referred to as MLA style or MLA formatting. It's time now to look at some of the actual writing within the paper. The intro paragraph does what any good introduction does. It explains to the reader where the paper is going. In other words, the introduction shows what the paper will cover and what it will argue. In this case, you can see that the author is going to argue that users of cell phones should balance the benefits against potential health problems. This is the position that the author is taking on the topic of cell phones. This, in other words, is the author's thesis. Besides clearly showing the thesis, this intro paragraph also reveals how the paper will unfold. I'm now going to read the paragraph. When I finish, you should know what to expect if you were to continue reading the paper. As cell phone usage rates continue to skyrocket higher and higher each year, more concerns are being raised about potential health risks. A growing number of American teenagers text each other every day, and the number of adult texters are increasing as well. As the number of cell phone users increase, so do the number of studies that examine the social, emotional, and physical health concerns tied to cell phone use. Most people are more than satisfied with their phones and focus on the benefits of cell phones. Yet, health concerns are real. Users of cell phones should balance any benefits against potential health problems. As you move your way through the paper, pay close attention to the highlighted sections. I will read some of these parts in order to illustrate important characteristics of a research paper. In this first one, you'll see that the paper is based on research findings and the writing has an academic tone. Let me read these highlighted sentences. When people talk on the phone while driving, people say that it causes distractions. But when people text and drive, some specialists say it should be more accurately called drunk driving. Haynes. One report points out that a large 28% of accidents are caused by talking on the phone or texting. Halsey, III. Notice how the author of the paper phrases things here. Notice the phrase, some specialists say, and the phrase, one report points out. Language like this is typically found within research papers because the paper should be based on different information sources. If you look again at these sentences, you can actually see the information sources that were used. At the end of these two sentences, you see an information source listed in parentheses. In this case, it's the names of two authors. I can be sure of that by looking at the final page of this paper, which lists all the information sources used in the writing of the paper. This page has a special name. It's called the Works Cited page. What that means is it contains the works, meaning information sources, that are cited or used when writing the paper. You see that the names Halsey and Haynes are listed here. These Works Cited entries are the same names that appear on page 1 of the paper. In other words, the information for that part of the paper came from these sources. I'm now going to page 2 of the paper to point out that information sources are sometimes listed right within a sentence and not in parentheses after a sentence. In this highlighted sentence, you see that author Laura Reynolds is quoted. I read from the top of the paragraph. Psychiatrists and counselors may be facing a different problem, an emotional one. Emotional concerns involving people and their cell phones occur when people get very attached to their cell phones. They could possibly develop a virtual life, says author Laura Reynolds. The next highlights on this page simply illustrate that all paragraphs should start with clear topic sentences, and that the writing within paragraphs should support the topic sentence. On pages 3 and 4, the highlights show that research papers typically look at both sides of the issue and reach well-informed, balanced conclusions. In order to get a clearer picture of the research paper, you are encouraged to read the sample paper in its entirety and to also return to the library website and view the other tutorials associated with this step and other steps of the research paper process.